I want to start the reassembly of the carbon resistor unit now. And if you watch my video on the button style controller, it's pretty much the same process here. I'm going to take the longer end contact unit and drop it in, and you'll see it comes to the end, and here, now it's out. Okay, it's just gravity's just holding it there. Okay, and then I'm going to have more luck fiddling with these without the glove. Now, you really don't want to get oil on the carbons. You don't want to get your body oil or machine oil or anything else on the carbons. So make sure your hands are clean and dry if you're going to do it barehanded. But it's the same principle I used before. I'll drop 2 or 3 in as best I can, and I'll take my little wooden barbecue stick, the flat end, because it's very hard to see down in there if they're flat. But you can kind of get a feel by going back and forth or around, and it feels like they're flat. So I'm going to continue that and checking after every few carbons, because if they twist or turn on you, you'll find out when you get to the top and you don't have room. See, I think I tried to put too many in that time, see? So I better be more patient and just do a couple at a time and make sure that they're flat. So you don't need to watch me do 108 of these, right? So I'll come back once I get them all in there, now that I showed you the process. Okay, so after a few minutes of fiddling around with these, I've got them in there, and they're all flat. I've got my 108 pieces, discarded the cracked and broken one and the weird half piece that I can't explain. So now I'm going to put the short end contact in there and try and get the retaining clip. It looks pretty good. Okay, so the way this retaining clip works is you see that the base of this has a raised edge. Okay, and that's what the retaining clip catches. So when this is inside the tube and the clip is in there and finally in the tube, that clip is going to snug up against that base, and that's what's going to keep it in there. And it's kind of weird the first couple times I worked on these, because there's no like groove in this tube. I thought I was expecting like a little groove to be in there that this clip fit into, but there's not. So the way I do it is just to drop that in there. You see how far it goes down. Of course, I'm missing 4 of the carbons now, right? And then just get this in the best that you can. There doesn't seem to be a top or bottom of it. See if I move that away, if you'll be able to see that any better. So I kind of get one edge in, not too deep, and I thought about how I'm going to try and film this for you, because I got to kind of cover it up with my thumbs the way I do it to get that in. But I try and get one of the open ends of that clip, geez, I hope that shows up, down in there a little bit, and then I kind of go around to the other side and try and force the other open end down in there. If you get too much of an angle like that, it doesn't work. So you've got to kind of try and keep it flat. There's probably some $20 tool that if I had, I'd already be done. A retaining clip plier, right? So I usually try and get one end of that open end in there and just kind of force the other end, because you have to bend the clip in a little bit. You've got to kind of oh gosh, I thought I had it for a moment. Got to bend that clip in. Yeah, it's not working too good. How about if I put the end away from the opening in first and then try and push the clips in one at a time? Yeah, isn't that funny? You think it wouldn't be that difficult, but I sure hope in the manufacturing process that they had some kind of a little press machine or something that did this. I hate to think of some guy or gal sitting there 8 hours a day trying to do this. I think I got the one side in. I got this side in pretty flat and not too far in. And then for you, the top curl of the ring is still sticking up. So I'm going to try and hold one end and push the other in and get my fingernail curled around it or something. Once it goes in, it's like it's in. Just like that almost. Okay, so I've got it all in there, but it's not really flat. The first side I pushed in went deeper, and the second side, the other side I pushed in is like barely in there. So I don't know how good that's not going to work. Wonder, without damaging that carbon, if I could use my wood barbecue stick to lift up that other end without popping the whole shebang out. Whoa, that's starting to look better. That's starting to look better. It's almost level. Let me see if I can get it. Take the flat end and just kind of tuck it in around the edges to make sure that the retaining ring is in there. See, this is about, I don't know, just barely below the lip on this end. I mean, I can see the white above the ring on the inside, and I see that here most of the way. Here's one end a little higher. Oh, now I pushed it way back down in there too far. What if I pushed on this end a little bit, on the opposite end of the carbon stack, and use that whole stack to push that ring up more flat? Would that work? Hey, that kind of worked. So I guess if you've Googled the definition of fiddly and then went to images, you'd probably see a picture of me trying to get this clip back in there. But I think I've got it. It's slightly below the white edge, and it looks pretty even to me all the way around. See how it's kind of sticky. That's the thing. You've got to get the, see, when you push on one end, the other end should easily come out. So when I push it up through that ring, let me get down here. If I push it up, okay now, but see, when I push it down sometimes it wants to kind of hang, and I think if that ring is a little bit crooked it drags on the side. So let me keep working on it here, because you've got to have this, you know, when you push on that actuating spring inside, it's got to be able to rock these carbons back and forth and kind of compress them, right? So if it hesitates or gets stuck, it's not going to be nice. I think that's starting to do pretty good. Let's put it flat here. I'm going up, okay, down, up. Yeah, see, there's still a wee tiny bit of hesitation. Boy, it sure looks good. Maybe everything is just so clean it doesn't know what to do. You know, I was thinking back to part 1 of this series when I tried the foot pedal on my Model 238, and I got the light but nothing. So I really wish excuse me, I really wish it had worked somewhat so that we could see after all this how much improvement there was. But I've always kind of wondered, you know, I often wonder what affects the power flow through the foot pedal, you know, when just a couple carbons or a few are damaged. Is it the dirty carbons, or is it just that the adjustment is off now, that the carbon dust in there? Because, like, what if you just filled this whole thing with carbon dust? Right? I mean, electricity would flow through it. So, but I have done a number of these pedals, and between cleaning off what carbon burns and dust I could and adjusting the adjustments on the pedal, it's been a huge improvement. So I guess in the end it doesn't matter, you know, what is what. Some of it's the carbon, some of it's the adjustment, and as long as it works a lot better, which this is doing now, it's not sticking anymore when I go end to end. Okay, I'm going to quit fiddling with it, and we're going to call that good. So I want to get my clamshell base, show you how to put that back in there. Seems now that we got it all prettied up, it would be a shame not to put it back in here. So it's going to go from this adjustment screw over to this flange that comes off the actuating screw, right? And if you look at that right there, when you're pressing on the foot pedal, do you see that bending in? See how it bends in right there? So that's what you're doing, is you're compressing this when you're pushing on the foot pedal. So the firmer those carbons are, the better the electric flow. So what we want to do with this is set this left side right in the plastic bracket here that supports it, and set it down in, and then we'll have our contacts sticking out against there. And then if we test it, we can see it. Can you see it moving that carbon contact in and out? Okay. Now there's not much coming out on this end now that we've took 4 out, but what we've got to do is put this up. Nope, that's not it. Where is it? Here it is. The little shorting adjustment clip. Remember this? We polished it up. It's got the little hole that fits over the adjusting spring. Let's see if we can, let me get up here, you can see it better. What I want to do is slip that right down in here so that that open in the spring, that hole, pops over this adjustment screw knob, and the flat part of the spring will sit up against my other carbon contact over here. Right? So that's what we're going for. Remember we polished that up? So let's see if I can get that in there. Well, it went in, but I think it went in too far. It doesn't feel like it's sitting up on that adjustment knob. You know, besides taking out those 4 carbons, we have to remember too that all this amount of carbon came off, right? So maybe that's like taking 2 or 3 more carbons out of there too. So that's, I think, why this clip is feeling awfully loose in there. So I'm going to lift this out because I want to be sure that that clip there, if I can get a good picture of that. So there's the right side of the clip. I guess if you're facing it, it'd be like this. Here's the right side of that clip with the hole going over the adjustment screw. That's kind of supporting the clip. Okay. So let's see now if I can stick this in. Okay, what if I put the right side of that clip in against the spring and then drop it? Oh, that worked better. Okay, so I'll take back what I said. The best way is to put this little spring on the adjustment screw, then use the resistance unit to push this way against the spring and slip the longer end under the actuating flange. Okay, boy, I can tell we got some adjustments to do on this. But first, let's get the retaining clip and screw in here. Do you remember this was loose when I first opened it up? And here is the little retaining screw, self-tapping. So metal screw into plastic. That's what that when they did this at the factory, it just kind of chewed its way in and made threads in the plastic. So let's get that back together. Yep. Let's snug it up. Okay. So I can hear that I'm worried that this actuating spring is a little loose. It seemed like when I went to pry it out in the beginning, I could just barely get the edge of that screwdriver under there. I don't know. I can't remember really how it felt. Do you remember all the lint that was in here? It always makes me wonder if lint didn't get in between here or between the contact springs or something, and then that would also give you a loss of power and weird things happening. And this clamshell is much more exposed to dust than the old button style, sealed up better. See, and this has like a gap there. So bad news, you're going to get more dust. Good news, you can just take your end of your vacuum hose along here and try and suck the dust out once in a while. Of course, you could undo the screw and open it, But anyway, we have made so much progress, and that's the end of part 3 of the series. And come back for part 4, because we're going to have to do a normal adjustment here. Usually your adjustments are here. Excuse me. And since we took out carbons and dust, we're going to have to do an adjustment on this, which you don't always have to do. But come back for part 4, okay? Thanks for watching. Take care.